So what had happened is that Easter started falling on two separate days, on two separate Sundays in the West, okay? And for one of those churches, or not one, but I mean for one of those denominations, they abolished the Nicene Council canons and laws, and their Easter had started since then, since the 1582nd year, New Style Gregorian calendar. The Easter had begun coming on either the day of the Jewish Passover at times, and at other times before the Jewish Passover. These two canons, which were really refuted and aimed against in the Nicene Council. So that was another flaw that they had fallen in, but probably they did not really care about it because they were not in communion with the people of the Nicene Council, who are the Coptic Orthodox Church primarily, as well as other churches anyway. So that's the other flaw, or the second flaw they committed. Why did they not say that we are going to wake up on Monday the 15th rather than Friday the 15th of October? Because they had actually, since the decree was actually laid down in February of that year, 1582, and this whole adjustment was actually calculated 6 or 7 years before Pope Gregory XIII anyway. It was during the reign of Pope Paul III, 6 or 7 years at least, I can't remember the exact figure, before Pope Gregory, when they found 10-day difference between the vernal equinox in the 4th century, around the time of the Nicene Council, and the 16th century in the year 1582. So they had already realized this difference in about 1576, 1575, 1577, something like this. And Pope Gregory laid down that decree in February of the year 1582 to take place or come into effect on the 15th of October of that year. So they had almost 8 months, if not give or take 8 months, and they had not even changed the naming of the days. Why did not they change the naming of the days and make it, I don't know, maybe the 6th day of the week or the 7th day of the week? Why keep it Friday? Because if we go back to our exercise, to our funny example, when I called it Wednesday the 7th of the first month, despite you calling it Wednesday the 4th of the first month, then I actually declared that I had not even agreed on anything with you. Because my starting point, see, Wednesday was the 7th day. So my starting point was not really a Sunday, it was the Thursday before. Even though we had not met on a Thursday, because Thursday had not existed prior to Sunday. We actually met on a Sunday together. We called it the first day. So by calling it the 7th day and still keeping a Wednesday, this led to all sorts of confusion, as I had just explained, and I will carry on explaining. Okay, today is the 2nd of Baramuda, 1735 Anno Martiri, the 10th of April 2019 Anno Domini, and I am recording these clips, as you can understand, over a couple of days. So just for the sake of scientific accuracy and precision, I would like to say that only today I have found something I wish I hadn't. I have found a quote on Wikipedia by Pope Gregory the 13th, because I had already started talking about the epochtic calculation compared to the Comptus, and I found that actually I had thought that with the adjustment of the Western calendar from old style Julian calendar into new style Gregorian calendar, they had not really adjusted the Comptus calculation, or had not cared about it, even though they were adjusting the vernal equinox and for the sake of recalculation the Easter celebration. But today I found that Pope Gregory the 13th did declare that this adjustment was to abide by and comply with the canons of the Nicene Council. So in adjusting the Western calendar from old style Julian calendar into new style Gregorian calendar, according to him, they should have abided by the three canons, the three conditions, which is Easter. Easter must come on a Sunday after the vernal equinox and after the Jewish Passover. Apparently, since then, the Comptus calculation rendered two separate Easter dates, as we have discussed in the previous clip. And not only that, but also that the Comptus in the Western Church calculated the Easter that had started becoming the norm, that it comes either in some years either on the same day as the Jewish Passover or before it. So in fact they could stick to only two conditions, not three. So I don't understand what Pope Gregory the 13th was all about. I don't know what he was thinking at the time. Having said all of that, in the same article on Wikipedia, I did read that the validity of this Comptus adjustment, because it must be somebody who adjusted the Comptus as well as the calendar itself, and I can't remember exactly if it was Clavius or Lilius or both, or one of them adjusted and the other one maybe maintained or sustained the calculation. I don't know for sure. I can't remember exactly, and I am sorry. I apologize, because this is not my field, but I'm trying as much as possible to be as precise as possible in the information that I give. In any case, what I would like to say is that the validity in the same article, it said that the validity would last only for 2 centuries or 3 centuries by the most. So it may have been the case that Pope Gregory the 13th, as opposed to the forefathers of the Nicene Council and the ones before them who used the epochtic calculation, Pope Gregory the 13th was not really far-sighted. He did not know what would happen in the future, or he did not assume that that was going to happen. I don't really know, or they did not know at all that after the 18th or 19th century it will come out of sync with the calendar. I don't know, but this is what I had found on the same article in Wikipedia, and I hope it's clear despite the flash and being close to the camera. I'm just being close for that purpose. I got this graph from the same Wikipedia article, but I adapted this graph itself, or this figure, and put, as you can see, hexagons, closed hexagons as well as open hexagons. And the hexagons represent the Jewish Passover days. This is from the year 1950 up to 2050. So mainly in the 20th and 21st century. I couldn't really get the Easter dates before the 20th century, so I cannot comment on the validity or the reliability of the Easter dates before then. But in these 100 years, suffice it to say that not only in these 100 years, but all across the ages, all over the generations, through the epoch calculation, the Easter, the celebration of the Feast of the Resurrection in the Coptic Church as well as in the Eastern Orthodox churches had never deviated from the three conditions of the canons of the Nicene Council, while the Western Compactus has, especially since 1582. I am not sure what was happening before 1582, but all I know is that the Compactus calculation was basically the very same epoch calculation, but converted into each country's own calendar, starting by, I think, Saint Dionysius. I think he was a saint, and he took the epoch calculation into the Western calendar in 2 or 3 countries at first, and then gradually, century by century, all of Europe as well as the Western, the Western population at that time adopted and accepted the epoch calculation and the Compactus calculation henceforth, which was exactly the same. But I don't know, that was until the 10th or the 11th century. So from the 6th century until the 10th or 11th century, there was gradual acceptance of the epoch calculation in the form of, or by the name of, Compactus calculation. I don't know what happened afterwards. I can look into that. And all I know is the adjustment for the Western calendar in 1582 was aimed at the vernal equinox. Let's see. This is from 1950 to 2050, and in this we will find that that the blue circles represent the Easter dates in the Western Church. The orange open circles represent the Easter, the Feast of Resurrection celebrations in the Coptic Church as well as the Eastern Orthodox churches. At no point whatsoever will we find that the Feast of Resurrection in the Coptic or the Eastern Orthodox churches have preceded either the vernal equinox, even by the new the new difference or the newly adjusted calendar, which is the 3rd of April. Never at one time did it come before the 3rd of April in the 20th and 21st century, and more importantly, never did it occur or fall on the same day as the Jewish Passover or before it. This is unfortunately the case with the Western calendar, as we can see in the year. Sorry, it keeps the dialogue keeps popping up. But as you can see in the year 1951, the Western calendar comes round about 23rd, 24th, maybe 25th of March, while, as we can see, the hexagon representing the Passover, the Jewish Passover, comes round about the 20th of April. It's difficult for me to see, but I hope you are watching more clearly. I forgot to say that I put the hexagons based on 2 websites. Wikipedia website, the same website, but not the same page. I used another page to get the dates of the Jewish Passover from the year 2000 up to 2050. And there was another website altogether pertaining to the Jewish calendar. I got all the Passover dates from 1950 up to 2000. The year 2000 served as a comparison between both, and I found it to be correct. Found both to be correct.